would actually accelerate their creative thinking skills. So they not just
Wow.
got better at it, they can enter that state of flow much, much faster. So, I mean, you're talking about trying to get in the zone. We have a tool set that can kind of get you there like that.
Hello and welcome back to another Leads to Growth podcast. My name is Chris McCoy, your host, and I'm with the National Association of Sales Professionals. And y'all, we've got another special guest with us today. I mean, that's all I do is bring on special guests. So special people attract special people is what we do. Today, we've got Neil Sahota. Neil actually had to cancel one of our previous calls for an emergency UN meeting. And I think it's the first time that's happened on Leads to Growth podcast. So Neil, thanks for being with us, brother.
Hey, I'm stoked to be here, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Honored. So Neil is the AI advisor for the UN, leading a great program called AI for Good, Artificial Intelligence, Changing the Story. What a great conversation that is going to be to have today, as well as the CEO of ACSI Labs. I mean, this guy is on the cutting edge, and if the world's looking to him for answers, then we got him here. We got some good answers coming. Thanks, Neil.
I'll do what I can. That's all I can promise, Chris.
My man. Well, Neil, first off, man, thank you so much for joining us. And tell us a little bit about AI for Good. And this is a great place to start, I think.
Well, it's a program that we started in the United Nations. So we're trying to tap into artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies to make the Sustainable Development Goals a reality. And so if people are not familiar with the SDGs, as we call them, there's 17 goals the member nations have committed to, like zero hunger, improving like diversity, smart cities, good health, access, justice. I won't bore everyone with all 17, but you can tell they're really big, lofty goals. And we found that technology is a great tool to help us kind of bridge some of the gap to making these things a reality. And so this is a very solutions-focused and partner-focused initiative within the United Nations.
Solutions focused and partner focused. I mean, AI is such a big concept, man, and such a the conversation could be anywhere about AI, right? The fears of it, what it looks like in the future. But I love that y'all are looking to leverage it right now. How did you get into this world of AI?
Total accident, Chris.
Sometimes that's the best way, is by accident,
I know I'm probably dating myself here a bit, but back in like 2004, business intelligence was the rage. All these tools collect so much data, store it, slice and dice it, make some nice looking reports. And I had these big Fortune 500 companies telling me like, man, Neil, it's amazing what computers are telling us. I'm just thinking to myself, they're not actually telling us anything. I started thinking, could they look at all this data and figure stuff out? Could they draw insight? And that's what sent me down the AI path. I wound up developing some IP, figured out a way that computers could do that. And today we call that AI and machine learning.
Wow, man, that is fantastic. So it was really just it was really probably the complexity and the mass of the data, right? And you almost laughing of people pulling out inferences out of the data, which is really confirming their own biases and their own stories, right? And so I imagine you probably had to go through that instance a few times, like, I could tell the same story about that data that you just told, but the exact opposite. And now saying, all right, what if we had a neutral third party that would go through this data and give us some feedback? And I think that's a very interesting part of it, is that we forget about all the bias that goes into looking at data and the bias that we bring to the table, and the opportunity to have somebody look at that data without that bias is a very interesting concept.
Well, you're spot on, Chris, and you're using a very important thing here, which is the bias. And we have implicit bias. We subconsciously, the way we've been raised, our experiences, our environment, we look at the world through a certain lens. One of the things the UN is really stoked about is robot judges.
Oh, wow.
So, right, there's worldwide, there's backlogs of court cases. You have an AI robot judge that doesn't really need to eat or sleep.
Sure.
But you also think about this will probably may reduce some of the bias and we'll call it prejudice in the system. So improve access, reduce corruption. Well, we have the data for it. you look at the US system, the problem is the data is biased. And I know everyone's going straight to racism and stuff, and that unfortunately does exist. But we actually studied this. And you know what the biggest source of bias with the judge data was, Chris?
What's that?
How hungry they are. The more hungry the judge is, the harsher they become in their rulings and sentencing.
I read this in Daniel Pink's book, The Power of When.
Yep. It's a real thing. And when suddenly it's like, how do you strip that out of the data?
So real quick, y'all, what he's saying is how do you judge whether or not a person is going to be paroled or not? It's by how hungry the judge is. Did they just eat or did they not just eat? This is it.
Yeah, and that goes way beyond just the parole hearings. We saw it across the board in all kinds of trials, cases. You can say like we can adjust for time, right? We don't know if that judge ate breakfast that day, right?
Or now you got to control meals.
Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. The other interesting part about that dining aspect, the meal or the hunger, I hear a very similar piece of data about riots and protests, whereas a lot of the old ways were to starve them, to not allow them to eat so that they would have to go home and eat and do these things. But what they found is that the data showed is that when they didn't feed them, people were more angry and more likely to revolt and to be violent.
Yeah. That's a great example of what our gut tells us makes sense versus what the data shows. Not the same thing.
Absolutely, man. So very, very interesting. And so what are we doing? So you said robot judges. Is this something that has a potential to go to play? Is this something that they're moving forward, these concepts?
So some of this is already in place. So
okay.
Estonia actually has AI robot judges doing like traffic court.
Wow.
Because you think about it, the average traffic court case, they're pretty much the same. 90% of them are the same.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of cut and dry. So it's freed up human judge time to do other kinds of cases.
Very interesting.
And in China, they started an AI arbitrator. So they're doing virtual courts where you have an AI arbitrator that's listening to like 10,000 arbitrations at the same time.
Wow, that's crazy. Man, wow, that's bananas. So, all right, so AI is we talk about this all the time, but I love the idea of looking at ways where our biases are causing problems in the world and eliminating. That's a very interesting perspective and an area to find. All right, so you do this you're helping the world be a better place with AI, and then you are also working for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, consulting them on. I imagine AI is a big piece of this. How are you seeing companies make the shift to leveraging these types of? I mean, it's such a big move to bring in AI to what you're doing. It can be such a big shift. Are you seeing a lot of companies move towards implementing it or move towards actualizing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we reached this inflection point where most companies have realized I need to be doing something. I might need some help figuring that out, but I know I need to be something. Otherwise, I'm being left behind. And to credit to all the marketing and salespeople out there, they were one of the first groups to actually embrace the technology and see this as a way to actually improve like customer engagement and using the different kind of channels to try and do the outreach. And so I think they've seen the most success because they've been the most open-minded and realized, hey, in an ideal world, I wish I knew each of my customers or clients like a best friend. AI actually helps me do that.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing it does is, I think I had a great call yesterday with a gentleman from Toronto, Yaz, and he was saying that a salesperson's job is not to sell, but to classify, to I can't remember the word he actually used, but it's basically to classify. Is this a person that needs me or not? Can I meet that need or not? But it's almost like processing them and filing them into what works. And AI is really good at helping you do that in a faster way, so that those conversations you are having can be more confident, more personal, more relationship building, because that person's the AI, the data, and all the pieces tell you that that person qualifies and is a good quality lead for you. I think that's the piece where I think sales and marketing kind of did it, are leveraging it to, it's processing data faster so they can get to people quicker, right? Getting to the decision or the action faster.
That is definitely true, Chris. I think it's actually going to the next step now, where AI's kind of become a communication coach, where there are AI systems that know like neurolinguistics, the
Yes.
science of language, where they can even kind of coach you now and say, hey, when you talk to this person, these are the kind of words and things they want you to focus on. So you write that
Yes.
email or you have that meeting, and here's kind of the key buzzwords and the key things to emphasize for them. Not what you think is going to be the most important, but this is what they actually want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've seen some of the old guard folks, or the great like salespeople. Like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I know this. I know how to break through the barriers. But then you look at the young guns that are doing some of this stuff. They're getting to that yes point a lot faster by tapping into some of these tools.
Absolutely, because the rapport when you're yourself and you can stand out amongst a crowd now with everybody sending so many templates and mass emails, being a real human can really stand out, and an SDR can do that. One of our favorite tools is called Try Lavender or Lavender AI, and it's a email writing assistant that actually shows you your emails, what they look like on a mobile phone device, tells you what the tone is, tells you who this person is and how to optimize it, the reading time of it, everything, and coaches you how to write better emails. So people are getting 30% higher conversion rates on it. And here's a big piece of it too. I think AI, I mean, it's turning us, the automation turned us into robots, and now we're trying to find our way back into being human again, leveraging AI and robotics. It's very interesting, isn't it?
I love the way you phrase that, because that's absolutely right. Think about how we use Google, right? We've been trained to use keywords. I got to figure out the right keywords.
Yeah, exactly. We've become robots, and now we're all training to try to be human again. It's very fascinating. So tell me what an IBM Master Inventor is. I got to know, Neil. That stuck out on me. I'm like, what is this all about?
It's a designation that I think only about 300 IBMers get, or people get. And basically, you've created some sort of intellectual property that, well, is very disruptive and has generated like billions of dollars, to put it mildly, I guess. So my work in like AI and my days back at IBM Watson got me the notoriety of becoming a master inventor, because
Wow.
it's a whole different computing model, but it's been one of the drivers for, well, the fourth industrial revolution we're going through right now.
So you were one of the OGs on Watson.
Yeah. So, all the people out there, you can either thank me or blame me for that.
Very cool, man. And listen, you must deal with some of that, right? I mean, AI is one of the most polarizing technologies or conversations that you could have. It's almost got to Republican Democrat status, right? It is, like it is. I had a conversation at dinner one night, and I was talking about AI, and I think the book I read was The Power of Emotional Intelligence or something like that. And it was about the next generation of AI and helping you proactively put yourself into flow states and to be in good moods, leveraging the data that your bias and feelings don't allow you to see on a regular basis. And I thought that was just really fascinating. She got so worked up, so angry, and didn't even want to. She's like, "This is I can't even manage." Like, just the thought of it was end of the world revelations for her.
I chuckle a bit, because that's a common response. When you talk about getting the full state faster, that's actually what we're doing with ACSI Labs. We're combining AI, the metaverse, and cognitive science, and this was to help kind of solve.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Well, you're combining AI and
the metaverse and cognitive science. Yeah.
Metaverse, cognitive science, and AI. Okay,
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
So this really started off as research to say, can we use this to solve big complex problems? With the metaverse, you're kind of in a space, get your mirrorverse, like the Doctor Strange movies, where you can experiment. And what we found is that, it led to some more interesting, creative, risk-taking solutions. The C-suite, the boards that went through this, we saw improved cognitive levels. But one thing we didn't realize was that it would actually accelerate their creative thinking skills. So they not just got better at it, they can enter that state of flow much, much faster. So, I mean, you're talking about trying to get in the zone. We have a tool set that can kind of get you there like that.
That's so exceptional. We have a set of programs that we called one of them is called mood boosters. And it's just leveraging frequencies, audio, language, these different things to curate your mood as opposed to just walking around the world with a bunch of buttons on the outside of your shirt, allowing things to make you feel certain ways. I think I'm fascinated by the idea. I don't know if you've seen Insight Timer. Insight Timer, they're one of the top 3 largest meditation apps. Their big thing is they're like the broker of the meditation apps where they have like the largest community of meditation teachers on their app. Either or, they've got a great thing now that when you log onto the app, it says, hey, are you happy, sad, angry, whatever, it gives you all these feelings, and you select one. And it says, oh, wait, why are you feeling this way? And what happened today? And it's like this little bit of collection of data collection points that my mind said, oh boy, when AI starts to apply to this down the road, when that person can wake up in the morning and go, hey, based on your diet, based on the weather, based on these things, you should play some happy music today to really increase your mood. How much is it moving into that personal wearable space where all things are connected and it's curating our moods?
That is actually considered the holy grail, Chris.
Oof.
That's where everyone gets to. And it's all kind of happening piecemeal. That's the thing. I was working with BMW 7-8 years ago, and they already saw that, hey, we're going to go into self-driving cars, right? This is not going to be about the ultimate driving experience. We got to create the ultimate passenger experience. And so we were actually working on how can we adapt AI for these vehicles. Just by the way you even step into the car, the AI knows, oh man, Chris had a really tough day at work today. I'm going to change the lighting to like a soft purple. I'm going to play his favorite sad song. I'm going to be like, hey, Chris, tough day.
It's so crazy. It's so true, though. I mean, this is where that worriness comes of like, all right, if I'm going to put myself trusting of this thing to curate my mood, what happens when it decides to curate another mood? It's a very interesting. I think that's where that element of trust, right? That element of it's human. This is so human. Like it's the same thing with a husband or a wife or a relationship, right? You're like, I don't know, I'll do a little bit, you do a little bit, I'll do a little bit. It's this barter thing, which ends up never working out. And that's the same thing with AI. If we end up in a barter relationship with it'll never fully utilize or integrate and appreciate it, right? Well, we have to buy in fully to it in order for it to take that next leap.
You're talking about something that I always express as the truth and trust in the technology.
The truth and trust, yeah.
I don't think we're at a stage where people are still trying, is this real? Is there still a lot of hype? I think they know that we have a better handle what we can't do with AI, and there are things people are better than machines and vice versa. But I think the stumbling block is it seems a little too good to be true that here's a machine that can crunch millions of different data points and draw insight from that I can't do in a few seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's got to have made some mistake. Look at all the movies, books, all the stuff you watched, read, Chris. It's like at the end of the day, humans always win, right? Because there's something special about us. And I think we had that kind of mental block. Well, there's something that's missing that a human being would catch. I just know it. I know it.
Isn't it so funny how our certainty comes from humans, yet we're the only ones that we fight with on a regular basis, the only ones destroying ourselves, yet we're like, no, it's not right unless it looks just like me, or unless it's very interesting, no? Like they're like, yeah, but it has to have a conscious, or it has to, so you mean, no, it has to be the exact thing that makes us wrong?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And so I also think it's interesting, the idea that we think we could create something outside of who we are or what we are. Like the computer is just a computer. I think I read a great story about the Google AI where they were interviewing somebody who created this. And look, I get it that this AI could make you feel like it's real. That's what it's supposed to do. It takes all the information from the internet, puts it into a place. And if you ask it the same question the other way, convince me that you're not a sentient, it would be just as valid and good at doing that because it knows what to say. And there's this idea that when it is able to fool you, that it is human, that's when it's that tipping point, correct?
It is, but I think that's more of a people problem than a technology type of issue. In that, I honestly feel like as this technology improves and it's able to do more of the grunt work that we're doing, people kind of feel like we're less special in the place of the universe. And that's happened through every industrial revolution. But I think we're losing sight of that every time we make this kind of leap with technology. It goes all the way back to tractors, goes all the way back to the printing press, is that humans have risen up and said, I have more time to go tackle bigger challenges, more complex problems, think more creativity, right? And I think we've forgotten that. And I don't know, it's because we have so much infotainment today that we can be lazy about it, but I'm an optimist. I think that people will rise up to the next big challenge.
I mean, we are one nature, right? There's not human nature and nature. We're all one nature. And listen, it'd be great if we did. It'd be fantastic if we did, and we may not, And I believe we will as well, because we have always. We've redefined what's important to us. We've redefined what it means to be a human. And I think the interesting part that you just kind of made me aware of is that, the fear, it's going to take our jobs, it's going to do all the things that I was going to do. And if I don't do those things, I don't feel special. I don't feel significant. I don't feel valuable. Yet the enlightened one will sit there and not move, not do anything. We'll just sit there and watch leaves blow and be peaceful and be joyful and be just as significant. And I think we're remembering ourselves. We're remembering what it means to be human again. And when a robot comes around and we're fearful that robot, which only can do, is going to take something away from us, it means that we forgot who we were and why we're important and valuable.
100%, Chris. That's why I consider a lot of these things more of a people problem.
I love that you said that. Yeah. I love that you said that. That's a really beautiful perspective. So tell me about some other great things AI is doing in the world. Let's put some of the light notes out there. Like, there's still some good things that AI is doing in the world right now.
There's a lot. I mean, I've been working with farmers in like Bangladesh, Malawi, like these places where they don't have great resources. We're using AI to improve crop yields. So we don't need big supercomputers or kind of things. We can do things on a self-contained tablet, but analyzing the topsoil through video, using climate forecasts, insect infestation predictions, but even looking at crop prices. So to balance out cash crops versus consumption crops. And we've seen like the AI even come back, if you plant this type of seed and you move it 2 milliliters to the right, you'll improve yields. And we've seen that, like crop yields will go up like 30%, using 20% less topsoil and 50% less water. And that's like, wow.
That's amazing.
These communities now have the ability to grow more food, but it shows us that we actually have the ability to grow an abundance of food and feed the world.
It's almost like, hey guys, there's not enough time in the world for you to play out all these options. So we're just going to play them out on a computer for you faster so that we can hopefully save your race.
That's the thing. That's the power. While we can try and run through 5-6 scenarios, that AI is running through millions of scenarios.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. It is, I think it's just a very interesting perspective. And I love that we're talking about the humans and the human problem, right? When we talk about being a better salesperson, it's getting out of your own way. It's start to listen, do the things that a salesperson does. And it's always these human problems that we bring to the table. I was reminded by a book by Anthony DeMello, and he says when it rains and you're mad, whose problem is it? The flowers love the rain, the grass loves the rain, everybody loves the rain. The only person that doesn't love is you. You're the one that brought something to the reaction to create this reaction of negativity to come up. It's your problem, not the rain's problem. And I think this is a beautiful piece that don't resist something. The more you resist something, look at the war on drugs, y'all. That didn't work out for us. Let's not resist AI. Let's lean into it. And I think the best version of the AI is the one that is that mesh, right? That combination of human and computer together that really does allow us to leap forward and be a part of it, not chase it.
And that's, I think, exactly right, Chris. This is not human versus machine. This is human and machine. And I know we talk about real intelligence or human intelligence. We talk about artificial intelligence. I think we're really moving towards what's being called hybrid intelligence, that we're taking our human capabilities and we're augmenting that with machine abilities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it takes a awareness for that human to function well with that robot, that computer, that aspect of it. I love that. Tell me about all right. So I saw this crazy thing. I've got a lot of artist friends here in Austin, right? And I showed them Dolly, and they're like, "What?" I think I showed them another one from Reddit that you could actually share with Reddit, and they send you back something with a blended art that's created. Create poems, music, movies. I've seen happen. What is going to happen with the artistic space as AI moves into these worlds?
It's already changing, and this isn't so much about, again, AI replacing human artists. This is actually about artists realizing they can create new forms of art, and actually the art influencing the technology. I don't know if you can see my background here, but the other AI for AI is artistic intelligence. So in 2019 at the UN, we started a new track called AI in Art.
I love it.
And so we did this little special mini serial. I hosted it with some of these artists, but there's a guy, Reaps One, who's a beatboxer out of the UK. He was just thinking to himself, like, the human voice hasn't been really disrupted in 50,000 years.
Wow.
How would you do that? And he wound up working with some guys, and they developed an AI system to disrupt the human voice and create all these kinds of sounds that are things that we can't actually do, but the machine can. It can be blended into music or lyrics.
Very interesting. And I love how you keep going back to this, which has got to be like the core of your mission statement every time you wake up in the morning. It's not us versus robots, people. Come on. But it's true. It's very true. It's not us versus anything. It's the same thing with drugs. Somebody asked me what drugs are good or bad. Drugs aren't bad. Yeah. The name drugs is bad. The name drugs is bad. But entheogens, these chemicals, these medicines are not bad. Our relationship with them is bad. A lot of us, right? Yeah. So AI is not bad. Our relationship could be bad with it. How we leverage it, how people use it, how we trust it could be bad. But the technology is beautiful, and that's so cool, man. I think I saw a poem that actually fooled me. And what about these deep fakes now? So how is it going to be regulated? I think that's something that I get a lot of questions on. You see these deep fake images, deep fake voices, vocals are now crazy what they're doing. How do we regulate, and how as an individual, a consumer, just a human out there, how do we decipher?
You're talking about something that a lot of us are really trying to figure out at the moment. And unfortunately, to use your analogy, digital twins are the kind of the good use of AI, right?
Yeah.
Deepfakes are the evil use, unfortunately.
Okay. Yes.
And we know that it's gotten so good, you may not realize, like if you look at you, Chris, and it may be a deep fake, right?
Neil's like, I haven't been here the whole time.
But that's how good they are. And everyone's trying to figure this out. And it's a challenge, because fakes are really AI systems that have trained against other AI systems until it could fool those other AI. That's how good it gets. And so we're looking at things like, can we use blockchain? Can we create some certification? So anytime you publish content, there's a special key or something. I actually have a friend right now who's working with the Screen Actors Guild on this very problem to see, can they come up with a way so that the artists, like the actors, can actually protect their image, their likeness, their voice, so that this is really them in this commercial or this movie or this promo clip or whatever, because it's gotten to be a huge problem. And Chris, it's not just for like famous people or big names. Yeah. It's guys, just average guys like us, that we could get attacked as well. There was unfortunately an app in the App Store until about a few months ago called Deep Nude. And well, if you had a messy breakup or something and you want to have revenge, you could get this app using photos or videos. It would generate a revenge porn, a fake revenge porn against that person. Regular people, we don't have the resources to fight this stuff, right?
Right.
What do we do? So having that ability to detect is really crucial, but I think this is going to boil down to more certification. It's like the fake news problem where I think it was in 2017, these two guys want to create an AI system to detect fake news. And they realized there's too much variability. There's too many ways to have fake news to work that.
It's too much.
But they had this epiphany. They said, rather than try and detect fake news, could we detect real
news?
Yeah, work like a charm. So
No.
I think that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be we're trying to detect deep fakes. We're going to have a way to detect if it's a real.
You can have like the Twitter check mark.
Yeah,
These are
You're
real
verified.
These are real humans. That's crazy. Yeah, because you think too of the metaverse now, right? And like, oh man, if they're deep faking real humans, like deep faking an avatar, Snoop or someone like that in the metaverse, that's gonna be pretty easy. So protecting your brand and your likeness in that space as they're trying to, because one they're trying to leverage their brand and likeness in that space to earn money, but now to protect it, that's a whole nother world. We're like, we'll get that one when we come to it, my friend.
Like we're on the cusp of a world of avatars, man. It's become really critical.
Absolutely. All right, one more question here for you on this world. As we went through this quarantine, this rampage into digital transformation, and people just locked in their houses, I imagine VR world took a big jump in growth. I don't think as much as they had hoped it would have, but the metaverse is building. People are going there. We're one more quarantine away from everybody spending half their life in a VR headset right now. What positive things are we doing? Because you mentioned in the past people leveraging these tools for cognitive growth. Are we bringing VR and these AI tools into schools and education systems to really, because it's a area where funding is just terrible, right? Urban funding for just putting pencils on the table and paper is sometimes difficult. How are we getting these technologies into these schools, and also doing it in an equal opportunity way around the world?
It's a good set of questions, Chris. It's starting to happen slowly, and it's really starting at the university level because a lot of this is an access and infrastructure issue.
Okay, yeah.
You need high-speed internet. You need to have a powerful laptop.
Mm-hmm.
You might need goggles. Some VR, you don't need that, but that's a lot of money for some communities to have to cough up to participate. But
yeah,
universities have more resources they can provide to the students. Like one of the things that I'm actually working on right now is the virtual courtroom. So you might be surprised to learn that most law students actually never go to a courtroom as part of their education.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so if you've never actually been in a courtroom, when you become a lawyer and you practice and you go to trial, what do? Right. And so the whole idea of the virtual courtroom is you can actually do these mock courts using VR. And so you can compete against not just like other people, but you could use AI so that it's not the same thing. You can't like memorize your way through. But we can factor in things like, well, it's a different time of the day. Maybe that judge is hungrier, more harsh,
Right.
But we can really mimic the real world situation. And people feel like I'm sitting in front of the judge. I can see the gallery behind me. I got to actually make eye contact with the virtual jury. So it's a more visceral type of experience. And in medical schools and like residence hospitals, they're starting to do the same thing as well. Because sometimes you read about a surgery and you may not ever do it. You may do it 10 years down the road. So it's like I'm trying to refresh, read the book, maybe watch a couple of videos. We've benchmarked this, that if we put them through a VR refresh of the surgery so they actually have to perform it, they become very competent in about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah. And it's those concepts that really get me excited for the youth, because the opportunity to building references. Yes, and that's amazing for somebody who's going to operate on me. And it's also amazing for a developing child, right? To build positive, courage building, value building references that you can then use into real life. And you think about, kids in urban environments who grow up without a father, with poverty around them, not a lot of role models, not a lot of opportunity for building those beliefs. And so to be able to to reach a child there in a high rise, in a Section 8 housing with in a smaller room, and be able to bring them somewhere else in the world and to be able to give them those things. It is, I know it's a long ways away, and the idea of it is just so fascinating to me, and how it could really change our world so fast.
Chris, I have some good news for you. It's not that far away.
All right. I'd like to hear that.
I mean, the ability to maybe see Machu Picchu and these kinds of things, not that far away, but we're already actually working on things like at ACSI Labs. We're actually working on VR things to improve mental health and actually put people through some of these situations. Again, safe, mirror, universe environment, but they can then actually experiment and develop coping skills and actually build the resilience before something actually happens.
Absolutely.
Same thing. There's another program going on where we're using like the metaverse and some AI to teach autistic kids how to, ways to build their social skills and a capacity that works for them.
That's, yeah, the social opportunities and the mindset, growth mindset opportunities that are there are incredibly fascinating. I mean, being able to deliver, being able to, because I don't know about you, but the first time I got out of my state was just mind blowing to me. The first time I got out of the country was even more mind blowing to me. Travel and experience, I think, are one of the most fruitful and rewarding tools to help break somebody of their patterns of thought that they grew up with. And to be able to do that without leaving your room is just, it is the next level of our opportunity to grow. And I'm very excited about where it's going. And I love to hear that it's not far away. That's also very encouraging, my friend.
Hey, look, like as we've been talking about, we can do a lot of good, or especially we do a lot of bad. But I think most people want to do good, and they're taking advantage of these opportunities.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you're talking about making a shift back to being more human, Chris. I think technology like AI and the metaverse is actually helping accelerate that change back.
I love it, man. Neil, I could talk to you all day long, but I'm sure you got UN meetings and things to go to. So we will rock this, but thank you so much for being here. I mean, really taking the time to share with our audience is invaluable, and we're incredibly grateful, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, my pleasure, Chris. I had a blast, and I just leave one parting thought for everybody in that, risk is not a bad thing. And if you're got some pain point, think about what you could do about it, especially with AI. We got a whole new tool set out there for everybody, including communication and like engagement with people. Tap into that. Be the driver, not the passenger when it comes to all this change.
I love that, man. So Neil, where can people take? I mean, we've got a lot of sales leaders, a lot of influential people listen to the podcast. Where can people tap into some AI or open up that idea of web page of opportunities for them? Where can they go?
There's lots of places out there. There's lots of opportunities to connect, but I would suggest people come to my website, which is just my name, neilsahota.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. But I have resources that I share via those channels, as well as I'm always sharing the latest news and posting, new things that are happening, even especially in the marketing world right now. So come follow me. And if you have a question or an idea, I would love to hear it, and just reach out through my website to contact me.
Absolutely. Yeah. As far as the B2B world, man, AI is going to take things the next direction. It's going to allow us to drop those SDRs and that telemarketing mindset and build relationships with people and be able to process data in order to get into front of people and be able to present them information that's valuable to them, not a generic plate of information that might be valuable to them. And I think,
well, that's why I said, if you want to learn how to talk to each customer or client as a best friend, you can do that, because we have the AI tools already that you can talk using the words that connect with them, the channel that they prefer, with the incentives that are actually meaningful to them. Exploit that. That damn straight, Neil. All right, y'all, neilsahota.com. Check him out on LinkedIn. And thank you for joining us. And you're welcome for more great information that we know is going to lead to growth. Right? Lead to growth. You know what I'm saying. Anyways, National Association of Sales Professionals. Make sure that you review us and share us with a friend. If you thought this was valuable, I'm sure they will too. All right, y'all. We will see you on the next podcast. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Neil.